The big game is this weekend. We get the Chiefs versus the Eagles, and that'll officially mark the end of the NFL season. But things start right back up in a month when free agency hits, and it's going to be nuts. It's going to be wild. And I'm here to go over my top free agents on top of their potential landing spots. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Special thanks to today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. When you use promo code Broshmo, they will match your first deposit up to $100. They also have a special going on for the big game. When you do your pick'ems entries, they will get you a free square in the form of Jalen Hurts higher than 0.5 yards. So check that out. That's for new and existing members. And as always, bet responsibly, my friends. Let's go ahead, get into my top free agents and potential landing spots. Starting with the top 5. Of course, you got the quarterbacks here. You got Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith. I think there's going to be some people mad that I don't have them as just the top 3 because I love Jamil Dean. I think he's one of the best corners in the league. I think he's so vastly underrated. He kind of emerged in the second half of his rookie season, and he's been great ever since. I think he's going to get a good amount of change in the offseason. I don't think he's going to be able to stay with the Bucs. I think the Bucs are going to have a tough time bringing back him and Sean Murphy, but I don't know if they bring back one of those guys, let alone both. But I don't know. We'll see. Javon Hargrave had a heck of a season. I mean, I believe he had the second highest pass rush win rate on the interior this season. No, it was third for the position. And he was very productive. Yeah, he's on the wrong side of 30, but you could bring him in on a 2 or 3 year deal. You could probably get, even a 3 year deal, you could probably get out after 2. And especially if you're a franchise that thinks, hey, we're pretty close to at least contending for a Super Bowl, you could bring him in as just one of these like uber, not even just an uber effective just player, but like one of the best at his position. Even if he regresses the next few seasons, that's still fine. That helps close that Super Bowl, or that helps open that Super Bowl window for you when you have players like that. But really, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson. I got Geno Smith because he's just the older of the two. Daniel Jones, you're perfect. Like, he's like 7 years younger than Geno Smith, I believe. And I mean, we saw good things from Daniel Jones this year. Yeah, 7 years younger. I feel like Geno, he's gonna be good. Like, he's gonna be good to like maybe stabilize a franchise, but you're kind of shooting on maybe Daniel Jones turning the corner, hitting that upside. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is easily the top priority free agent here. Now, this is what I think is gonna happen, and let's start with the quarterbacks, as I got all these guys either getting franchise tagged or brought back in some form, like with some deal. I see Lamar Jackson being franchise tagged. He says he's not going to play under the franchise tag. Well, just the franchise tag allows them to buy more time as they try to work out a deal. Daniel Jones, I think they'll come to an agreement. I don't think the franchise tag will be needed there. Potentially the same with Geno Smith, but I'm pretty sure that if they can't work anything out there, they'll be like, fine, we'll just franchise tag you. Now, this is probably my favorite landing spot for Jamil Dean is the Detroit Lions. Javon Hargrave, I don't know if necessarily he needs to take a team-friendly deal, but I think he could probably sign like a 3-year, $50 million deal where they kind of front-load the first 2 years. Potentially, remember, NFL cap space, it's imaginary. It's whatever you want it to be. They'll throw void years in there if they need to. So I think some shape and form, he's going to be back. He's going to want to run this back with a team that just looks like the best team in the NFC. Like, why would you want to go away from that? Especially when you're not necessarily near the end of your career, but most of your career is now behind you. So you'd think you want to win a bunch. But Jamil Dean, Detroit Lions, they need cornerback help. Go out, pay the man. The dude's so good. I think he's a good fit for Aaron Glenn's defense as well. Right now, the projected contract is 4 years, $68 million, with 47.5 being fully guaranteed. But I think it would be just a good fit for the Lions. All right. I got at number 6, Jesse Bates. We got Levante David here, Caleb McGarry, Daron Payne, and Orlando Brown Jr. A tackle is very important. Like, Orlando Brown actually had a pretty good end to the season, and he's played well throughout the playoffs for the most part. So I think he really kind of turned his season around because wasn't looking great. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. Daron Payne. I think with him, the Bears are going to be a very sexy place. They're going to want to throw money at this guy. And I'll get to what I think happens with him. But Caleb McGarry, I think the Falcons should throw money at this guy. I think, hey, finally, our first round pick bloomed this year. He was probably one of, if not the best run blocker at the tackle position. So if Falcons let him go to free agency, man, he's gonna have a lot of suitors out there. Levante David, I think he's done with the Bucs. I know he wants to finish his career as a Buccaneer, but he could always come back on a one-day contract when he retires. I think he's gonna probably go ring chasing. I think there's a good chance of that. Jesse Bates, I think, is just gonna get paid grip of cash. I am completely sold that the Bengals aren't bringing him back. I think that was pretty apparent with like the Daxton Hill pick. So on my landing spots, I think the Falcons would be a great place for Jesse Bates to go. Playing that defense, Richie Grant kind of working as the Von Bell in this defense, I think really works well. Like Richie Grant, honestly, is at his best in the box or even in the slot. So I think the Falcons are a very likely candidate there. Levante David going to the Broncos, he may be like ring chasing after Russell Wilson's performance last year. There's a lot of hype going on with, like, Sean Payton's now in tow. I think there's a good shot. I mean, we saw Bobby Wagner do the same thing with the Rams last year, and it didn't work out well. Granted, the Rams were coming off a Super Bowl, but I think it's very possible Levante David bails to maybe a team like the Broncos, a team that, granted, we all expected this team to be so much better, and they have the talent. So I think that could be a good fit. I have Caleb McGarry going to the Bears. I think the Bears are going to try to make a splash. They were never really satisfied with that right tackle spot. Riley Reef ain't it. Doesn't look like they really have much faith in Larry Borum. And I thought Borum was good in parts, but he could go and challenge for that left guard position. That's fine. But McGarry, I think, would be very good across from Braxton Jones. And suddenly it's like you feel really good about two very young tackles. Because, like, one's on a rookie deal. This one you just paid. So it'll be nice. You probably front load that contract. That way your guys aren't, like, they're like, when it comes time to maybe have to pay a Braxton Jones, those contracts just aren't ballooning at the same time. I think Daron Payne's going to get franchise tag. I really was tempted to put the Bears here, but I honestly think Washington won't let him go. Not for free, at least. And I think he gets franchise tag. I think eventually a deal gets done between Orlando Brown and the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs really have nothing else at tackle. It's pretty bad. Orlando Brown just shot down their contract. So I think the Chiefs might end up trying to shell out a little bit more money to bring him back, bring him home, or maybe they even let him go through free agency, and he finds out, oh man, I'm not really getting the money I expected. Like, what's his expected contract here supposed to be like? 5 years, $105 million is the projected contract. What did the Chiefs offer? Chiefs offer to Orlando Brown. As it was 6 years, $139 million. So, like, and it was $95 million in the first 5 years. So it's like, man, if he goes out there and he finds out, oh man, that deal Chiefs offered me was hella good, he might come crawling back. I didn't mean to say it like that, but I do think he's gonna probably be with the Chiefs. Let's continue with I got my running backs here. We got Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard. Those are I think easily the best running backs here in free agency. I'm not big on paying running backs. It's just not me. But I mean, these were guys that are very integral to their team's success this past season. You have Tremaine Edmonds, who kind of broke out this year in a big way, was probably like a top 10 linebacker in the league this past season for the Bills. So that's going to be a guy that they really want to bring back. And then James Bradbury played exceptionally well on his 1 year, $10 million deal. Now he's probably looking for maybe a little bit longer of a deal. Let's see what his Bradbury's projected is. 2 years, $24 million. So honestly, that's not all that bad. I think there's well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about landing spot in a sec, but I have the running backs all going back to their teams. As RA rumors are circling that Tony Pollard's going to get hit with the franchise tag. Saquon Barkley doesn't, I mean, he came out and said, I don't want to really reset the running back market. So whether it's like he gets hit with the franchise tag or maybe he comes back on a team-friendly deal might be it. I think Josh Jacobs probably gets hit with the franchise tag if they can't come to an agreement. Did he get hit with the franchise tag last year? No, they didn't give him a 5th-year option, so they have to hit. Okay, there we go. So those are my predictions. I think Tremaine Edmonds, if the Bills allow him to hit free agency, I think the Texans, D'Amico Ryan will be like, man, he wants to probably build that defense from the inside out, which is already great because you already have good pieces on the outside and Derek Stingley and Jalen and Pitre. So he gets his like Dre Greenlaw, his Fred Warner, a stupid good athlete, a stupid long athlete in Tremaine Edmonds. I think this would be a if Edmonds hits free agency at the Texans, I think might prioritize that. James Bradbury, I just put a question mark. I really couldn't settle on. I was down to, because there's word like he's down for a reunion with the Giants, but I think it's very likely, especially considering the Eagles made the Super Bowl, like he might. Hey, I'll take a 2-year deal for like $20 million or 24 as is projected here. I'll take it. I'll take that deal because I think this team will probably be competed for a few years now. So I just couldn't pick. I really, really want to say the Eagles financially. I'm not sure how that will all work with the Eagles and their cap space. I haven't really looked into their cap space, but it feels like, here, we can look at it right now. Eagles cap space. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see what Spot Rack has. Okay, it's a little under 5 million. And like, look at like, yeah, they're gonna have to make moves. So like the Eagles, Darius Slay's up there, Lane Johnson. I mean, those are 2 deals. Like, man, like maybe you look to restructure those deals. Let's see. Brandon Graham's a free agent technically, or unrestricted. I'm not sure. And especially if you bring Hargrave back, man, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. But yeah, I mean, regardless, like I think, like I don't know. Bradbury's like, oh, I'd be open to go reunite with the Giants, but it's like you just witnessed the Eagles run that division. Do you think the Giants are that far, like that close to being competitive with the Eagles? Because I'm not entirely positive if they are. So questions. All right, next on the list, I got Terrence Steele. We got Mike McGlinchey. So a couple of tackles here. To be fair, Terrence Steele is a restricted free agent. Jacoby Myers, our first receiver, very weak receiver free agent class. David Long, and then Draymond Jones. David Long's going to be another interesting one in terms of where he may or may not land. And when looking at this, I decided on, I think Steele's probably back with the Cowboys as a restricted free agent. I really like Jacoby Myers. The Bears just going after him. It's like, yeah, he's probably the top receiver in this free agency class, which is kind of underwhelming. But like, he's a solid player, man. He's really a really good player to have, and you just want to add more weapons for Justin Fields. Mike McGlinchey, I think, makes a ton of sense for the Patriots. This might be the last like big contract he signs, being 29, I believe. What are you, Mike McGlinchey? Oh, you're 28. He'll turn 29 in about 8 months. So, yeah, I mean, if he ends up signing a 4-year deal, it might be the last big contract he signs. Excuse me. But I think the Patriots are a good fit. You got Trent Brown. We know he has his play's been up and down recently, or at least it was last year. We know he's had a problem staying healthy in his career, and Isaiah Wynn's a free agent. So bringing in Mike McGlinchey, I think, would be very clutch. David Long, linebacker position is terrible for the Giants. David Long, I think, was a perfect player for Wink Martindale's scheme. I really like that. I feel like I almost put him returner with the tight ends, but man, I really think the Giants could end up bidding well on him. What's his projected? I want to say it's like 5 years, 44 million, or maybe 4 years, 44 million. 4 years, 55 million. Okay, so he's looking at potentially like 13 to 14. That's projected, so sometimes might be even less than that. But, man, yeah, the Giants really need a linebacker bad. Draymond Jones. So I like this fit because the Broncos aren't going to be able to bring back a lot, unfortunately. I think Jones might be one of those guys they just kind of let go to free agency. But pairing back up with his former DC in Carolina and Evero, I think is very tantalizing. Like, Evero really knew how to deploy Jones to be that consistent pass rushing threat. To have that in the rotation next to Derek Brown, I think there's a lot of, dare I say, sex appeal to that. So I'm a big fan of that. So let's keep this sucker rolling. So I got Dalvin Tomlinson up there. Just a good player. Don't think he's going to get a ton of money, but here, let's see what his projected is right now. Don't think he's going to get paid out like the Wazoo, but I think he could get a grip. So Curly, 3 years, 35 million is the projected number. So that's okay, but this dude's been exceptionally good. Like, he's consistently like been a top 15, top 20 defensive interior player around the league. So I think he's going to have a good market for him. Jordan Poyer is going to be interested. It's going to be interesting if he hits free agency. Maybe a reunion in Green Bay. Did he come from Green Bay? No, I'm thinking of Micah Hyde, right? I'm thinking of Micah Hyde. Jordan Poyer. Not free agency. Oh, man. I think I am thinking. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of Micah Hyde. Okay, Poyer initially was with the Eagles and then the Browns before heading over to Buffalo. Okay. It was Hyde that came from Green Bay. Honestly, though, Poyer would be a decent fit at Green Bay. We got Dalton Schultz on here. I think he's the top tight end. Him and I think Evan Ingram is the next one there, but I think just Schultz is just consistently good. He's just more consistent. He's actually got hands compared to Evan Ingram. TJ Edwards, man. Like, again, not one of like the most athletic linebackers, but a guy that is just great motor, knows how to play the position. Very underrated, easily a top 10 linebacker in the NFL at this moment. So Eagles talk about Eagles have significant free agents. We got Isaac Simalu here as well, the guard. And I mean, they're going to have to let some of these guys walk. I think Samalu is probably an obvious one. So my potential landing spots, I got Tomlinson going to the Falcons. I think it makes sense there with Grady Jarrett. Get some help, and then it just seems very likely that pass rusher will probably be their first round pick. So add in pieces like Jesse Bates, Domlin Tomlinson. Suddenly your defense is looking a little better. You're hoping maybe some of your young linebacker talent starts to emerge. I honestly think Jordan Poyer is going to be going. I can't imagine him not in a Bills jersey. Couldn't even imagine him in Eagles or Browns, and he played for those teams apparently. But I, especially with the lack of depth at the safety position, I think they find a way to bring back Poyer. I also have Isaac Samalu going to the Buffalo Bills. Their offensive line needs improvement desperately. They tried to do this with Roger Saffold last year. Didn't really work out. A guy like Samalu, I think, would be A-okay. Don't know how active can this squad be in free agency when it comes to the offensive line. Like they could look to move on from Mitch Morris, but even then, what you're looking at, who'd be a good fit? Like Ethan Posick wouldn't be a bad fit. You got Connor McGovern, Garrett Bradbury. I don't like him in that scheme. I want to say there's another center potentially. I mean, there's going to be a lot of centers, but I'm trying to think of top guys. They could go after like a Dalton Reisner. Maybe they move Deion Dawkins inside, and then they look for a tackle. Maybe bring in like an Isaiah Wynn, a Jawan Taylor potentially. Ben Powers is a free agent. Ooh, that would be a good fit. So, like, there's talent out there. They just need to be able to find it when it comes to that offensive line that just really let them down this year. Dalton Schultz, I don't think he's coming back to Dallas. I don't think they can afford it. But I think Washington would be a very good pickup. This would be a good pickup for Washington, as the tight end position was a little banged up last year and just didn't perform well. Sounds like Ron Rivera is really excited about Sam Howell, but I mean, that's how you're supposed to sound about your players. So bringing in a good security play like Dalton Schultz. Like Dalton Schultz is like another guy that's like a top 10 at his position. So like he came back from injury this year, so the numbers didn't look that great, but he had some banger outings this year. TJ Edwards, I think this is another cat they let walk just because they don't value the linebacker position. They got Nakobe Dean too, so maybe they might be more willing to let some of their linebackers go, because I think White's a free agent as well. But TJ Edwards going to Detroit under Dan Campbell, I think would be perfect. Paired up there with Malcolm Rodriguez, you bring in Jamil Dean, and suddenly, like, all right, we got some ballers here. We got some ballers. I'm excited about that. All right, we got the next free agents I want to talk about: Cameron Sutton, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We got another running back, Miles Sanders, Nate Davis, who, personal fan, I'm a huge fan of Nate Davis. I think he's a very underrated offensive lineman in the league. And then Marcus Davenport, who's never played over 600 snaps in his career because of injury, but has been productive when on the field. And I got a few returners here in terms of, like, I think the Steelers get something done with Cam Sutton. Their corner position's just so mad. You don't want to let go of your best corner. You really don't. I have Nate Davis going back to the Titans. It's kind of the same thing. He's your best offensive line player. Like, yeah, you have the consistency. A man that seems like he never ages, but I think he was a little beat up last year. Ben Jones. You saw some encouragement from Nicholas Petit-Frere, and you really got to figure out that left side of the line. So bring in Nate Davis. Like, Derrick Henry is the engine of your offense right now, which means the offensive line has to be good. Nate Davis is your best offensive lineman. Bring him back. And then I got some guys that are signing with new teams here. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I think, makes sense if they don't bring back Teron Harmon. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson could really fill in that role where he's playing in the slot, playing in the box. So could be a guy that they might not have to like shelve up a ton of money for. Let's see what his projected contract would be. 3 years, 34 million. That's not terrible, but he is a young player. I'll skip Miles Sanders real quick, but Marcus Davenport, Yannick Ngakoue is a free agent. I think there's a good chance he probably comes back, but Gus Bradley, this is a guy that typically doesn't blitz a lot. I think prior to this season, I think he was still bottom half of the league. Let's see. There we go. Let's get that pressure rate real quick. Not even pressure rate, but let's get that get the oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? Get the teams. Here we go. Get their blitz rate. That's what I was looking for. Because yeah, they were outside the top 20, which there's 32 teams in the league, so still not great. So you want to be sure at least you're getting pressure with your offense or with your defensive line if you're not going to blitz, because it sounds like Gus Bradley will be back for another run, which is actually a little bit of a shame because kind of how I feel about it. It's kind of Davenport, this is the dude with a ton of upside. You kind of hope he stays healthy, and he could honestly have a breakout year. I kind of felt the same way when it came to like a Trey Hendrickson. Not really with the health concern, like there wasn't really health concerns, but it was more okay. He had like so years, and then he just kind of broke out in his contract year. And what the Bengals gave him the bag, and he's been freaking wonderful. I think the Colts can do a very similar thing and get them a really good pass rusher there with Kwity Paye, and even if they bring back Yannick. So Miles Sanders, you got Dante Foreman being a free agent. The Panthers are not in an ideal spot when it comes to wanting to draft a quarterback, so dependent on who falls to them at 9 or if they maybe make a move up to get one. Like a lot of people are projecting Anthony Richardson, so it feels like they won't have a QB that can start year 1, so we might be looking at Sam Darnold. Derek Carr sounds like he's going to the Saints potentially, which means what you got. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Jimmy Garoppolo. There we go. Probably Raiders at that point, maybe. And then I could actually see Carolina bringing Jacoby Brissett. Frank Reich would totally be okay with that one. So bringing maybe Jacoby Brissett to play quarterback, be like, okay, we're developing this other guy, but you still have probably a playoff contender with the way your defense is, and you bring in Miles Sanders, you get a strong run game. I think it's important also to bring back Bradley Bozeman, who's also a free agent. And maybe in the draft, after you draft your quarterback, just start getting playmakers. Maybe get some receivers day too. There's some good receivers there. So I think there's a lot of good things I think that could happen here for the Panthers. I think Miles Sanders will probably be obviously one of the cheaper options at running back compared to Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard. Like right now, his projected contract, 3 years, $22.5 million, opposed to taking a look at guys like Barkley, Jacobs. They're projected well over $10 million. So I like this. We could talk about some other free agents. I don't really have any. I don't have any more slides for you, but there are a couple of guys I do want to touch on and hit on, just because I think there's good fits out there. Like I loved looking at the Texans and be like, okay, what could D'Amico Ryans do with his defense? And obviously, I had the Texas take Tremaine Edmonds, but I think he could bring over a lot of the guys from the 49ers, like a Sampson, Ibukam. You got Manuel Mosley. I think it'd be wise to re-sign a guy like, was it a core? Oh gosh, Ogba. Can't even say it. Can't even say it. We're gonna just call him Okora. Let's see. Okoro. Whoa. Okoro. Whoa. Koro. Regardless, hopefully you know who I'm talking about. He played with the Texans this past season. He was more of a rotation player to start the beginning of the year. But really, they really let him be a starter later in the year, and he looked really, really good. So I think grabbing him, bringing in Ibukam, and then depending on what you draft, like I think that defense starts to already look quite better. You get some more consistency with that defense. You could even look at other defensive interior talents to bring in here. Let's look at the. Here, let's look at other free agents on the defensive interior. So you got David Onyemata. I'm trying to look for guys that have connections maybe to Ryans. Not many. Shoot, Puna Ford. Arden Key, I actually think could be imminent to return to the Niners or the Jags. I think he either goes back to the Jags or he goes to the Niners, because the Niners are going to be losing some talent this year. And Arden Key kind of like put his career heading back in the right direction when he went and played for the Niners. Matter of fact, you could talk about Arden Key being a potential free like a landing spot be in Houston with D'Amico again, because D'Amico was not the DC, he was one of the assistants at the time, so it was I think under Saleh. So I mean, I guess you could I don't see the Jets going after Arden Key, but obviously there's Jermaine Pratt. That's going to be a very interesting landing spot. Like, linebacker free agency is not all that bad. It really isn't. We could talk about Kareem Hunt. That's going to be a popular name in free agency. Where exactly is he going to go? And he might be a pretty good budget deal too. You could probably maybe go like 3 years, 19 million, or maybe even lower, and bring him into tow. So, you know what would be cool? Maybe going back to the Chiefs. Now, I could see Hunt maybe. I could see New England being an option. Let's see. Other spots. Yeah, no, the Chiefs could make sense. But I think they could probably bring back Jerick McKinnon at a pretty decent cost. But that's about all I really want to comment on when it comes to this free agency. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing as always. Until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.